welcome to another edition of Bolton In, all thanks to the friendly team at Palmerbet. And I tell you what, roll out the red carpet, play the tunes, do whatever you want to do, because these two blokes are absolutely smoking at the moment. And I'm talking of Shane Anderson and Adam McGrath. Shane, I'll come to you first, mate. How are you, buddy?
Oh, Matty, I'm in very good form, loving life at the moment. Adam, great to see you as well. We've been able to find some really good winners over the past few weeks, some at short odds, but reading the races right and looking back on last week, how good was the Cox Plate? I think it was one of the highlight races of the year anywhere around the world. It was a fantastic contest.
Adam McGrath, as I say, a very good evening to you, mate, from sunny Las Vegas. Same thing, mate. Seriously, you blokes, I know they're short enough, and Shane just touched on that, but, you know, you're just seeing them like beach balls, you two blokes.
Yeah, it was a nice week, wasn't it? I think we've been pretty lucky finding some prices throughout the carnival, and this was just one that the races sort of went as we sort of predicted. But, we threw Romantic Warrior out going into the Turnbull, and we threw out Gold Trip and said, wait for it. So people did that. They would have got a bigger price back then as well. And look, sometimes the favourite horses do win, and that's the way we saw it, and that's the way the races went. But you don't go broke if you keep backing those winners. So hopefully we can keep doing that again this weekend.
Well, the Bolton In followers are absolutely loving it. They are flying at the moment. Romantic Warrior, both you guys, of course, all over it for the Cox Plate. Imperatriz, short enough in the Manicato, blew them away. Espiona, of course, in the invitation. It was magnificent. Picks them up late. Tom Kitten, absolutely the right Tom Kitten come to play last weekend. Then Wishlaw Lass, Triple J over in Perth. It was a great tipping weekend. You just touched on, though, there, what a cracking edition of the Cox Plate. Seriously, a couple of unbelievable rides. J. Mac, Craig Williams, of course, Mr. Brightside. Mr. Brightside, as we said, was probably the forgotten horse, wasn't it, Shane, that we probably touched on last week after that failure in Sydney last start?
Yeah, it's one of those things, Matty. We know how good he is. Adam and I have got a probably love-hate relationship with Mr. Brightside. Whenever we've been with him, he finds a way of getting beaten. But he was terrific. But that race was run at a strong tempo throughout. A little bit messy early. As the field went out of the straight the first time, they were finding their positions. Perhaps one or two of them we thought may have tried to push up. Fangirl perhaps being one of them. Militarized was that one who copped a bit of wash and went back further than ideal. But from that on, it was a run at a really strong tempo. Every horse conceivably was able to get a pace that would suit them. There were a few traffic issues, some perhaps bigger than others. Duais, one of them over the concluding stages, but I think the right horse at the end of the day won. Romantic Warrior, an outstanding true international star, great record in Hong Kong, done wonders to win the race for that region, and perfect ride by J Mac. But as you said, Mr. Brightside, outstanding. Alligator Blood gave him a little cheer, even though I wasn't on him on Saturday when he kicked away at the top of the straight. The old boy Figay and Adrian Bott, he ran really well. Duais, the list goes on. Gold Trip, great. Militarized, run on really well. But the fascinating thing with the Cox Plate, one of the reasons why I think the right horse won, I love watching the follow through after the line. And no horse that was finishing off behind Romantic Warrior actually got past him after the line. He was still chugging along, going really strong. That to me is always a good indication that the horse that won the race are they the right winner? And he was still really strong through the line. But a terrific contest, always is a great race. But I think that was one of the racing highlights of the year.
Yeah, definitely. What about your thoughts, Ads?
Yeah, look, I thought really credit to the training performance. I mean, they just haven't lied and they've got it right every time. They said 80% first up, it was 80%. And even J-Mac said post-race, he goes, he probably needed this run as well. So, I mean, we've just seen how tough he is. As Shane said, he continued to hold off the other runners past the line. He had everything thrown at him. And look, they've timed it perfectly. They set themselves for the grand final. They've won the grand final. They probably still did have a bit of improvement coming. I think what J-Mac said, I think if there was another run in 2 weeks, I think we'd really see this horse put a length or two on these. But tremendous example of racing that we had on the weekend. Brilliant ride by Craig Williams, brilliant ride by Marzara again on Gold Trip. There was so much to enjoy from it.
Yeah, it was a cracking edition, that is for sure. We move along to the Manicato, and Shane, you used the M word last week. You weren't going to. We've mozzed ourselves a little bit over the journey by using the M word, but if any horse deserved the M word, it's Imperatriz. What a campaign this horse has had.
Masterful campaign, outstanding mare. And there's a case of a horse that I think, memory serves me correct, our friends at Palmerbet were sort of, the opening markets were around $1.50. When realistically she was always $1.20 chance. I think that's one of those real legitimate cases when you look at a short price favourite and you can say there's still value here. She was lengths above them. She proved that on the day.
Yeah.
She's an exceptional mare, and yeah, she's the first horse I think in history to have won the big three sprint races at the Valley in the space of the calendar year. It's a remarkable effort. She's going to go off to Flemington in a week's time, just over a week's time, for the big sprint race there. Just wonderful to watch, and all credit to the entire Tiaco Racing team. They've planned her program superbly. I'm glad she didn't go to the Everest. I know there's been some narcs on social media saying she should have gone there, but I think they've done the right thing, and they've been proven with the best campaign you could imagine. She was just brilliant.
I reckon the good thing is, and Ads, I'll be interested to get your thoughts here, but just they've stuck fat to that plan, haven't they? They've never deviated. This is what they want to do, and good on them. Full credit to them, I reckon.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. I mean, we sort of talked about with Gold Trip when they were umming and ahhing going the race. I love when you have a plan and you stick to that plan, because it means that your preparation's going the whole way. Now, things will change. Sometimes you might, have a sore foot or something like this and you can change it. But when everything's going right, if you stick to that original plan, I think the time when you've sat down, done your research, that's normally the right way. So well done to them for not being persuaded. And I mean, arrogance was just the word I looked at. And when she went to the front, I thought, oh, this is a bit like what Amelia's Jewel did when they raced at the Valley and they went forward as well. I thought, you know what, they've taken the track here. They know where they want to be. But you could tell in that corner, you thought, oh, if they want to open this up, this is going to be a 5-6 length margin. And they still weren't that hard on her. But she was just brilliant to watch. I was sitting back in awe of her performance, thinking we've got a good one here to enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Espiona, 1,400 metres, I reckon the key here, just was really good, obviously, in the Everest, and both of you guys all over it. It was an impressive victory, only by a short margin, but, got the job done.
Yeah, she did. Getting back to 1,400 metres, ideal for her. I think the format of that race will be strong, and that's actually proving to my eye that the Everest form should be rock solid. We'll talk about that probably in today's preview a little bit in some of the big races, but yeah, she was great. She's just one of those genuinely good racehorses, and it was a bit of a slog. She got there right on the line, but all credit to her. I think she was the right winner. But good runs in that race around her, and I think the form should hold up.
Ads?
Yeah, look, same as Shane. I thought really good performance. She's deserved that. It was the right race for her, right distance. We said, back against the ladies should be hard to beat. Some really good runs around there. Ruthless Dame, Royal Merchant, Alcohol Free was good again as well. We'll probably talk about that horse a little bit later on today. But yeah, she deserved that. It was the right race, and it was a really good ride by Karen McAvoy as well.
And Tom Kitten, of course, was absolutely enormous in the Spring Champ. And, obviously a few little question marks heading into last weekend, wasn't there? But, you boys summed it up really well last week, and Ads really blew them away.
Yeah, look, I thought, Tom had been sort of beaten by himself in recent runs, and there was nothing that was really coming through saying, oh, I'm going to eat this 2,000 metres up and I'm the horse to beat it. So I thought it was a really good ride by Adam, just to sit there behind them, get it into the angle at the right time and believe he was on the best horse, and certainly did deserve that to win by almost 4 lengths in this field. I think we just got to see how classy he is, and it was certainly a well-deserved victory.
Hey, let's turn our attention to this weekend, Derby Day. I want to ask you both. I know myself, Derby Day is my favourite day of racing in Australia. Shane, what's yours in Australia, mate? We're talking here. What's yours? Question without notice.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It was always Derby Day, but it's not anymore. I think the VRC have been stuck in their ways around their program for too long. And some of the changes they've made with their program in recent times, I'm not a huge admirer of. My favourite day now is Caulfield Guineas Day, particularly when you've got the Everest sitting alongside it. You're getting the best of both worlds in Melbourne and Sydney. But, I mean, it's a tremendous day of racing, Derby Day. Flemington, big fields, big crowds. Hopefully the weather's good. It can be a bit of a raffle on occasions. The races don't always go to plan, and we can often see a bit of a blowout result in some of the races throughout the day. Don't get me wrong, I still love the day. But to answer your question, I think it's just lost a little bit of luster in recent times, and hopefully they'll be able to get that luster back and get it, right at the top of the tree.
Yeah. Ads, what about you, mate?
Yeah, same as Shane. I like Derby Day. I think any track you go to, when everyone dresses up in the black and white, it's got a lot of history, a lot of fun, and people get behind it. But there's no day like Caulfield Guineas and Everest Day now. I think, as you said, that whether you're a Victoria Sydney rival or whether you just appreciate the day as a whole now, and like all of the events, I think it's a clear standout. The excitement around it, the aura around it, I think it's well ahead now of any other race day we've got in the country.
I love it. Right. Well, let's have a look at the Victoria Derby for 2023 over the 2,500 metres and our market, all thanks to Palmerbet. From the Wallace Stable, Riff Rockets, our favourite 205. Apulia on the back up. From the Hayes team at 440 for Dad at 850. Sunsets at $12. Air Assault $15. Gates $15. Gold Bullion $41. Cosguy 51. Roguery 51. To be frank at $51. I'm going to start with you, Adam McGrath. A lot of talk, a lot of conjecture about the strength of this year's Victoria Derby. How do you see it?
Yeah, I don't think it's very strong. That's for sure. Look, I'm going to go with Riff Rocket. It's not really a race I wanted to be diving in at all, to be honest. 2 wins, 2 seconds this prep. Went down as the $1.28 favourite last time. Drawn well. Speed in the race should suit a little bit more. Thought the run at Flemington 2 starts back and when winning the listed race showed how well it handled the track. So that's probably what I'm looking at more. So I think he can bounce back. But again, I'm not very keen to dive in. I thought the value play of the race and probably the horse that I think is clearly looking for this trip and is going to show the most improvement is Gates. I like the Colt by Frankel. 2 runs and a spells, come back, winning over 1,500, then up to 2,000 metres behind Sunset. Third up now, fit, comes from a good stable. I think Gates is probably the way I'd be playing in this race, just thinking that it wants that extra distance and looks suited with the setup.
Yeah, nice bit of value there. Shane, what about your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, I'm with Adam. I think Riff Rocket is the one to beat. I'm willing to forgive his narrow defeat last start as a very short price favourite, $1.28. Go back 2 starts ago in the Superimpose over the 1,800 metres of Flemington. He won like far lap. It was a dominant performance. And I think when you look at the Derby, you've got to be looking at horses that you know are going to be putting themselves in the race in the last 250 metres or so, and then whether or not they're going to really get the trip at this stage of their career. You know, the Derby is run over an extended distance for 3-year-olds in such an early part of their campaign. So he looks physically like he'll cope with it. As Adam mentioned, he's drawn well in barrier number 5. So I think J-Mac will just have him nice and relaxed, ideally midfield. Should be a reasonably solid tempo. If he stays the distance well, I think he's the most likely winner. $2.05. Still a little short, but again, worthy favourite. I think he's the likely winner. I'm going to throw out 2 mega roughies in the Derby. I'm going to say number 10, Bulawayo at $101. Could be specced. I think he just looks an out-and-out stayer. Pat Carey knows how to win derbies. He won Derby in Sydney a couple of years ago with a similar lightly raced, minimal profile horse. Because if you go back to his run behind Riff Rocket 2 starts ago, Flemington, I thought he was good there. And then he ran well in the Vars last week. But to me, he's just going to stay all day. Whether he's quick enough is another thing. But I think a spec bet at Bulawayo at $101. And the other one, I think at a massive price is To Be Frank, number 14. Had the blinkers on in the Classic last start. And I quite liked him in that race. He settled there well enough through the run. But just he was a bit lost over the concluding stages and weakened. They're taking the blinkers off. He's only having his 4th career start. Again, on pedigree and physical appearance, I think he'll relish the trip. So they're the 2 at massive, massive prices. I'm just going to have a little spec bets on Bulawayo and To Be Frank. But Riff Rocket, I'll be surprised if he's not the winner of the race. I think he should win.
Right, beautiful. Love it, boys. Right, let's move along to the Empire Race of the 1,600 metres. Race 8 on Saturday. And the market, all thanks to Palmer Better Tissues, our favourite from the Waller Camp, again at $5.50. Alcohol free at $6.50. Princess Grace at $7. Hope in the Heart, $7. Wishlaw Lass on the backup, $7.50. Simon Wild looking for his first Group 1 winner. Barbie's Fox at $16. Life Lesson, $17. And Road to Arataki for Beetroot Williams at $18. Shane Anderson, I'm going to come back to you, mate. What's your thoughts on the Empire Rose?
Tough, wide open race. I'm having 3 bets in the race. My best bet is alcohol free on the backup. We were talking a little bit earlier about the invitation last week. I thought she ran really well in that race, on speed, really stuck to her guns quite well. And I love it when Gay and Adrian back up their horses quickly into a race like this. If you go back through her form, I know she's been frustrating and disappointing since she's arrived in Australia, but her form in Europe at the mile is extraordinary. She won a Coronation Stakes at Royal Ascot, which is one of the pinnacle 3-year-old fillies races. She did it phenomenally well. She then went on and won the Sussex Stakes at Glorious Goodwood, which is arguably the best mile open age race that they have in the UK. She's drawn a great barrier to give Opie Blossom options early. So I think she either leads or she sits handy to the pace. I'd prefer to sit handy to the pace and then be presented late. I think she's at a good price at $6.50. I'm really keen on alcohol free. There are two others I think the market's got wrong as my value bets. I'm having something on Deny Knowledge, number 11. She's around $19. I think she's dangerous with a drop back in trip now from the Might and Power, where she ran well against Alligator Blood. The form out of that race looks pretty strong. She's a natural on-pace runner. The mile at Flemington should suit. So I'm having something on her at $19. And the other one is Life Lessons. I can't believe she's been forgotten in the market. She's now up to, what, $19?
Yeah.
She was terrific in the Let's Elope behind Amelia's Jewel. She then came out and won the Blazer, or the Rose of Kingston, beating Princess Grace. It's just the fact she's drawn out in the car park that her price is blown. I'm not too concerned with the draw. I think she can settle in the running line, maybe 3 wide, and be presented late. So I'm having 3 bets. My best is alcohol-free at $6.50. I certainly think value runners are Deny Knowledge at $19, and also Life Lessons at $19.
Beautifully, mate. What about you, Ads?
Yeah, my best bet in the race is alcohol-free as well. I know we've spoken about her a bit in the last couple of weeks. Big money purchase, had the heat stroke as well. I thought she was really good last start behind Espiona. I thought she was good first up behind Think About It from 5. She maps better. I'm with Shane. I don't want her to lead. I'd love her just to be stalking and then be able to really work into that race. I think she's got that tenacity still. We've seen that in her last few starts, that the effort is still there. So I think it's a great little opportunity for her to break almost a 500-day drought and put some money back into the pockets of the investors. And the other bet, look, it's not a value bet, but it's the only one I'll be playing, is a tissue. I thought the run behind Espiona 2 starts back was really good as well. Should be able to settle just that little bit closer, which I think will be key. Track suits, J-Mac in the saddle. So I'll be going alcohol-free the win and a tissue the save in the Empire Rose.
Right, let's move along to the Coolmore Stud Stakes. This is race 6 at Flemington. This is unbelievable, this race, I reckon. This field is exceptional. And the market, all thanks to Palmerbet. Cylinder's our favourite at $3.50. Shinzo at $7. King's Gambit at $8. I Am Unstoppable at $12. Osmosis at $12. Stretton Angel, $12. Stapati, $13. Tis Invincible, $15. You go out to V8 in the 20s. In the market, it's a cracking race, this one, and there's so much on the line for a lot of these horses, isn't there? As I come back to you, Adam McGrath.
Yeah, there is. I mean, like you said, when you see a horse like V8 out there at $20, you know it's a really good field. I'm going to go with Cylinder in this race. I'm not stoked about the draw, but I just don't think we can argue with the form lines. Group 3 winner in Victoria, Group 2 winner in Sydney this preparation, beaten 0.2 to Militarise when racing wide, beaten 1.1 in the Everest. I mean, that just stands out on its own. So I do think it's the best horse in the race. It can win if it's a good track or a soft track, pending those conditions as well. So Cylinder's on top for mine. The one I'm really interested in, and we've sort of mentioned it numerous times here, that Shane and I do not discuss any selections before we come on, and I'm wondering if he's come back to this horse or not. But I think Tis Invincible was at a ridiculous price. I mean, this horse was the flavour of the month going into the flight when it was looking for 4 in a row. And Shane and I both said, look, it's just going to the 1600 because of its age in these type of races. This is not the distance it wants. We want that 12 to 1400 metres. So I thought it was still really good over 1600. She drops back to 1200 now. She gets a month off. She's a good filly. We've seen that already.
Yeah.
Nothing against Harry Coffey. I do wish that Zach Lloyd was riding, just because I love consistency in these type of races. But tell you what, at the price, I'm be cheering Harry home and hope that she shows us exactly what she was showing us in Sydney. I think she's a ridiculous price.
Yeah, what's your thoughts there, Shane?
Yeah, fascinating, Adam. We are very aligned with our thoughts. I do have it as 3 horses that I'm really interested in the race, but I have narrowed those 3. They were Cylinder as my on-top selection. My next 2 selections were Shinzo and Tis Invincible. I think Tis Invincible, with the break and the ease back in trip, will suit her ideally, and I think she's pretty dangerous. And the top class filly always runs well in this race when they do go on and compete the boys. But for the sake of my best and my value, I put Cylinder just on top. Very marginal on top selection over Shinzo. There's very little between them we've seen in their career clashes thus far, and I'm just convinced the Everest form, particularly for this, is the best form that you want to be with. Go back through his record this campaign. He's won the Vane, the Run to Rose, 3rd in the Golden Rose, beaten a neck, and then he's run 5th in the Everest. He's just naturally on speed, tough. I know he's drawn out wide, but that gives him a few options early in the race for Tim Clark to just have him settled well and relaxed, and he should, be clear of traffic all the way through. So Cylinder just on top, $3.50. I think he's right price. Shinzo, I'm expecting a big run from him. This is the goal. He's owned by Coolmore. They'd love to win the Coolmore Stud Stakes. This has been his goal all the way through his campaign. Look, nothing really went to plan in the Golden Rose first up. Again, nothing really went to plan in the Everest. He didn't have clear running for much of the race last start. and I think he's at a price that makes him pretty attractive. So 3 chances in the race to my eye. I'm leaving out Tis Invincible in my top 2, but I've gone Cylinder on top, the best, Shinzo the value, but a fascinating race, a real high-quality sprint race of Coolmore.
I agree. I reckon it's an absolute cracking addition. Like you could make cases for, kind of 8 horses or something, like easily, couldn't you? Osmosis, like you put a line through last runs, the party the same. V8 comes back to the 1200. Tony McAvoy give a good push there. It's going to be a ripper. Hey, this is going to be a good race too up at Rose Hill on Saturday. It's a Golden Eagle. And the market, all thanks to Palmerbet. It's over the 1,500 metres. Amelia's Jewel at $4.20. Hawaii 5-0 at $4.20. Legato at $8. Kovalika at $10. Abamba Buramai at $10. Ozapenko at $12. Pericles at $13. And Attrition, who's drawn at the car park at $22 for Mitchie Freeman. I'm going to come back to the Perth boy because I want to know if he's on the Perth Super filly, because I actually really am keen on Amelia's Jewel. I'm keen to get your thoughts, Ads.
Matty, this was very tough. This is like when you own the horse and you go, shut your head up, shut up, look at the numbers, stop thinking. And I probably spent 45 minutes to an hour just on my last 3. That was not the whole race as a whole. So I really battled with it because I do think Hawaii 5-0 is low flying. This horse is going really well. I have a small question mark about the 1,500, which some people will say is stupid considering we've seen it go really well in the Stradbroke and also the Group 3, which was able to win up at Eagle Farm. But I am going to stick with her because the whole time going through this preparation, this is the race I thought she'd be winning. This is the one I wanted them to target. I know they weren't going to, and that for me, I thought was the wrong decision at the time. We saw her class at Flemington, the Let's Solo. We saw her class when she led or sat behind the leader at Moonee Valley and won that. Put a line through last time. She was playing up in the yard. She was not a happy filly at all. And I think we could all see that. The track work has been good since. The one thing I know with Simon Miller is she would not be going around unless she's 100%. So I think from all reports, she's ticking the boxes. This is the race when we started episode 1 I wanted to go for, so I'm not going to jump off her now. So she's on top for me. I think she can win the race. And my value bet will be another horse we've had a little bit of luck with this preparation, Kovalika, winner of 6 from 12. Look, the drop back to 100 metres and the barrier is not ideal, but this horse is just flying and you know what you're going to get. In a race like this, I think the fireworks will be going early and I think Kovalika will be rattling home late, but I do hope we see the green and the red of Amelia Park saluting in that event.
And Kovalika, Tommy Berry give a good push to track work during the week. Shane, what are your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, I'm moving away from Amelia's Jewel. It's been great. No, I was expecting you to do that. All of a sudden, I'll drop offline. No, look, she's a terrific mare. She really is. And Adam summed her up perfectly. And we said pretty much all the way through, we kind of had a preference that this would be a better target for her than the Cox Plate. The thing is, I've watched the replay of her run in the Toorak numerous times now. And every time I watch it, I'm not taking away anything positive from the performance. That's the thing that concerns me. So I'm not knocking her. She's a terrific mare. Her record's outstanding. Her 2 wins leading up to the flop in the Toorak were exceptionally good in the Letzel Open and the Stock Stakes. But for where she is at the price and what I saw last start, I'm just not confident that she's going that well. If Simon Miller can turn her around and she wins this race, one of the great training performances. But based on her most recent run, she was flat and disappointing. So I've got a big question mark with her. But I'll cheer her at home if she does look like she's knocking off one of mine. I'll certainly give her a cheer. She's a terrific mare. Long story short, my 2 selections, I've put Hawaii 5-0 on top. I've said numerous times on today's program, I think the Everest form is the best form around at the moment. And I thought her run in that race was exceptionally good. She was really, really tough, on speed, stuck to her guns over the concluding stages and not being beaten far on the line. Now she's up to 1,500 metres from a good draw. Nash Rawiller, I think, will ride her confidently. Natural on-pace runner. She'll bang out of the gates and be there to really get her chance. And I really think at the $4.20, when you match her up with Amelia's Jewel based on their most recent run, I'd much prefer to be with Hawaii 5-0 at that quote than Amelia's Jewel. The other runner I'm keen on as my value bet is Legato. Exceptional New Zealand mare. Back in form with a win in the Matamata Cup last start at listed level. She ran well in a Group 1 the start prior. And, of course, if you go back to the Autumn Carnival earlier this year, She was a narrow winner over attrition in the Australian Guineas. She's another one who's drawn well for Mickey D. He's going to have options early in the race to have her, I think, fairly handy to the pace. And at $8, I like her a lot. So my two and the big one in Sydney, Hawaii 5-0, my best. My value bet is Legato.
Beautifully done. Right, let's move along to the Giga Kick Stakes over the 1,300 metres. And the Palmer Bet market has, think about it, our favourite at $1.80. Private Eye at $3.60. Cascadian at $8.50. Palanipatena at $12. Marzoo $14. Zapatio at $16. Cold Crush at $21. And Surf Dancer at $91. Shane Anderson, coming back to you, mate. Think about it, gets the job done again.
I'm a broken record. Said it all this show. The Everest form is the best form. The winner of the Everest was Think About It, and I think he'll win again. I'm actually really comfortable with the price. I was expecting him to come up a little bit shorter, so I'm comfortable where he's been marked in early markets with Palmer Bet. So I'm happy to be with him. Sam Clipperton, barrier number 3, will have him very similarly positioned, I think, to what we saw in the Everest. And we just know how strong he is. And I think now that he's stirred up into the campaign, he's probably physically going to be better than he was when we saw him last time out. So he's the only horse I'm interested in the race. No value selection. I'm going all in on Think About It. He's arguably my favourite horse racing in Australia at the moment. Love him, and he wins again.
Love it, mate. Ads, you with it with Think About It as well, mate?
Yeah, look, I'm a slow learner and I'm still slow to come to this horse. I still think I wish I wouldn't sort of beaten it last start. So I've still got a sour taste in my mouth. But look, I've sort of summarised it with I think this is probably just the most logical bet for the weekend. It's not Imperatriz like when we said immoral, but something's just going to have to jump out of the ground to beat this horse. It ticks all the boxes. You know what you're going to get. If their rain is there, which says talk Friday, Saturday, that's zero issue, drawn well. So I can't knock it. It's on top. My value bet, I mean, who would have thought Amelia's Jewel would not be my favourite horse going around at Rose Hill this weekend? But the old boy Cascadian's back, the champ, and we had such a good run with him last preparation. I mean, first up, he was beaten less than 2 lengths to Artorias over the same trip on a soft track. Then he came out and was really good, beaten 0.5 to the bright side, won the Australian Cup and beaten less than 2 lengths by Giga Kick. So if there's one horse that I really want to see win on the weekend, even more than Amelia's Jewel, to be Cascadian. I love this horse. You'd love to train a million of them. So honest, whatever the distance and trip is as well. But it is Think About Its race. I think something would have to go astray for it not to be winning it. But get up, Cascadian.
I love it. Right, what else we found around the country on the weekend? I'll come back to you, Ads, first and foremost, mate. The WA form was good last week.
Well, I know we're not really meant to say when you're recording, but I kind of have to for this to happen. So on Wednesday, the time of recording, special sort will be going around at Ascot. If you get this, you should back it. It'll be winning. And then they may back up on Saturday into a West Speed. So you could get the double there as well. If you tune in just to the Palmer Bet thing, you're only going to hear about Saturday. I hope it goes around. But race 1, number 4, special sort. You'll see a nice win in the column from Wednesday when it goes around in a couple of hours.
I love it, mate. Shano, what about you, buddy?
I'm staying in Sydney for my best bet of the weekend, and that is in the Rose Hill Gold Cup, Canberra Legend, who's a horse coming out of Europe to take on this race. Now, I know this horse quite well. I've seen him race. I saw him at York. I was lucky enough to be trackside when he failed in the Great Voltage last start. But look, he was a mess that day. Nothing went right. I'm happy to forgive that. You go back through his prior form, it's a really, really lovely type of horse for this standard of race, and I think he'll win. So if we're getting around that sort of $2.50, $2.60 mark, Canberra Legend in the Rose Hill Gold Cup, Karen McAvoy in the saddle, I think he's the most likely winner. And I think he's a horse that now he'll be staying in Australia for a period of time that we can back with some confidence in better races over the next year or so. He's a really nice horse, Canberra Legend.
Love it. Well, I'll tell you what, Maddie's must-haves. I'm keen. Race 3, Flemington. A horse called Dancing Alone, horse number 10. Billy Egan in the saddle at about $5.50. This horse is 6 from 7, and I reckon it's got above average ability, and I reckon $5.50 is an absolute luxury, and I reckon going to be very hard to beat. And a little bit of value, I've gone race 4, number 9, Say Magic, race as well. I reckon drawn out wide down the straight. I reckon it'll be the one that'll be charging over the top. I reckon it charged over the top last year on Derby Day or Melbourne Cup Day, one of those in the straight races, and I reckon it's cherry ripe, ready to show something at about $12. So that's the way I'm going to play. Download that.
Matty, You know, when we work together, we start figuring each other out. I would have taken Imperatriz odds that Mr. Missile would have got a feature this week. I thought Triple Missile,
yeah.
J-Mac. I thought it would have taken $1.
No, just let that go around, boys, this week. But no, I'm looking for a little bit of value. But download that Palmerbet app. Follow the Bolton in, boys, because seriously, in sensational nick. And looking forward to Derby weekend, Golden Eagle in Sydney. It's going to be sensational, boys. And as always, it's a pleasure to catch up with you two legends.
Thanks, Matty. Thanks, Shane. Appreciate it.
Yeah, great work, boys. And looking forward to the big one next week. The Cup. We've been waiting all spring for Vauban. He's going to win.
Been putting the $50 away each week too, just to have on that horse, Shane. That track work during the week, mate, was absolutely unbelievable. The track manager, Liam O'Keefe, sent us a little message saying, mate, just get on. It was some of the best work they've seen. So you tipped us into this about, I reckon, 7 or 8 weeks ago, Ads, do you reckon?
Yeah, and I've got the Amelia Jewel Golden Eagle into Vauban, the Melbourne Cup, because I wanted her to go there that whole time. So let's start with the first leg and then we'll get the Melbourne Cup home.
Good on you guys. We'll talk next week.
See you, man.
See you guys.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.